town celebrated 3 championships in 7 years, and rarely has someone so tough played so pivotal a part.
McCarty draws. McCarty in. McCarty scores! A magnificent goal! Darren McCarty!
Look at that play. Lariano, Shanahan, there it is! He scores! The Red Wings have defeated Colorado! Darren McCarty!
Here's a break at center. McCarty on ball. McCarty scores! Darren McCarty!
Here's Wolfie McCarty in. McCarty scores!
I love you, but you're a mess.
I am a mess. I'm a work in progress, I guess you could say.
Yeah, but it's today, and I'm a special work in progress. Yes, this is Grind Time with Darren McCarty, your 4-time Stanley Cup champion with your Detroit Red Wings here on a Thursday night, June the 20th, 8:45. Oh, 8:44. I jumped the gun. I got it in before 8:45. Here with Bam Bam, Perry, Jenny Fedorovich, a producer from Russian 5, Josh Reel, and glad to say Brittany and her friends Michelle and Tracy from... well, you're working at Eisenhower with, which is so cool to have had you come in and watch the Russian Fives. They hadn't seen it, and because if anybody doesn't know what the Eisenhower Center does in Ann Arbor is that they help head trauma, and so a lot of it. Accidents, sometimes it's athletes, it's different things. So what you do to be able to see it, thanks for coming, and hope you enjoyed the movie.
I loved it. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
Phenomenal.
Now, what first impressions, and I'll give you mine. When I saw it, and that's the 6th time I've seen it, and I look for different things. Like, does anybody know what it says on the USA Today paper that Jim Lights was holding in the, I'm going to go look at the date and see if that's the USA Today cover, because when you see it again, you can look for different things, right?
Sure.
But my thing was, holy cow, it wasn't easy. And 2, wow, it didn't matter left or right, what language, what race, that those guys loved each other. And it really showed. And for me, I mean, I'm biased because, I mean, I took it from PG to PG-13, so not many people can move the meter like I can, but it was just to be a part of it and the history, what Jenny and Josh were able to do. And the correlation to it, you watched the team that you'd watched growing up, all of you guys growing up at different moments, I'm sure you've seen, but the way that they put this piece together to remember 20-some years later, the Russians, the Americans, they did it the same way we did it, with a whole eclectic of people that just wanted to do the story right. What were some of the questions?
Mac, real quick.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, the reason Brittany's here and was watching it with her 2 friends is that she was the winner.
Yes.
Of the drawing that the Russian 5.
Yeah, you're right, Perry. I got ahead of myself.
Yeah,
we had a drawing, and we had like 1,400 or so entrants, and we sat here, and you can go back through the logs because I was here. It was verified, and I hit the button, and that's just the way karma is. So
And we called Brittany.
And we did
call. And that was a fun phone call, right?
Oh my gosh.
I don't remember.
So
Mike got
embarrassed.
pee-pee slapped, though, right? Well, you don't do that. See, here's the thing. You go to the Detroit Cast, and you can have shenanigans like that all day. Detroit Cast, Monday to Thursday on this Radio for One station, where you have Beta O. Boger and Jay Boger and Mike does certain things that you're going to hear about farts and poops and what are you wearing, baby? Like stuff. But a Grind Time with Darren McCarty, it's not going to, when you get my VTI kicking up, which my VTI is vulnerable truth with integrity. That's my heart virtue. It's just wrong.
So what did you think when we called you? I want to know. So we
Sure.
call you. You get a phone call from Darren McCarty. You pick up the phone. What are you thinking?
Well, first of all, I think you guys were, I didn't know it was happening. So you guys were still trying to figure out like to plug in the phone, right? So I said hello at least 3 times, but until the phone gets plugged in. So on the air, the first thing I said is, "Who is this?" So I seem like I do not answer the phone like that, just so y'all know. And
I do.
Yeah, fair enough. So
What do you want?
So then I hear your name in the back. I was like, "Who?" Because I could hardly hear it. And I was like, "Oh my god!" But I was so confused. I didn't know if I was on the air, if I was going to be on the air. I was just thrown off by the comments, by like 3 people talking, by what the hell's happening. And then I had bad reception. And so it was just kind of a disaster when I watched it back, but I'm glad to be here.
But you're here now.
I am here, and
as you've seen, sometimes, as Stevie says, we don't do things the easy way. Now,
you know what?
now, but it works out in the end.
Yes,
in the end.
indeed.
And how wonderful. You work at the Eisenhower Center, which is like me and Darren always talk about. Things are just meant to be sometimes. And how awesome you guys work with closed head injury. You work with a lot of athletes, and then you win this. We were just at the Eisenhower
We
Center.
were.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a
Your
huge
friends are here. You
Yeah.
guys are on the board of this like hockey charity.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many great things.
So many.
And it's 3 women joining us, which I
Yes.
love because
Yeah.
I'm always in this boys club. I'm happy to have some girls hanging out with us today.
Well, and I think what's important, and you see, is what we try to tell everybody else. Yeah, we live here and we live through it. And yeah, the content is hockey, but it's life. You know, like I said at the end of the movie. I mean, this is transcend. It's the story in the middle, and it's the journey. And this is part of the journey. It's like, don't. And it takes a long time to realize this, but a lot of times it's don't worry about the destination. It's not important. It's making sure you enjoy the ride. And like you said, then because more times than not, I've noticed with Grind Time with Darren McCarty and different things that I'm doing, it comes together. It's sort of got, you know, whatever you believe in, it's just the way it's supposed to be. It's the sort of the life path that you're supposed to be on, and the interconnection of what else. So that, you know, for your perspective, obviously from what you do, how yeah, because you work there. Like I'm in it. Like
Sure.
and I lived it, so I have a different perspective.
Absolutely.
You work with people so you can see Vladdy the way that he was, and then to be able to. Can you
Yeah.
explain to people that when they said that he had less than 10% with the
Chance of,
systemic,
like, living?
the injury that he had,
Probably.
how severe it was.
Yeah, I'm assuming it was like close to
was
the
the-
brainstem, basically.
Right, exactly, which people
like
don't really
spinal cord kind of
survive.
stuff. I mean, I'm looking to Michelle, our PT, because I feel like she knows a little bit more about it.
Well, tell
even
us-
though I'm the psychologist,
Tell
I
us
should
the
know it.
first reaction. So we
Sure.
held off. We haven't asked.
Yeah,
about
so-
the first reaction to
I,
the film.
I've asked and I've been waiting for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. The suspense, it's killing everyone.
The suspense. Tell us what you think.
So I took a lot of notes, and I have a lot of reactions. The way the movie ended, I mean, that was one of my last thoughts, is that when we work with the catastrophically injured, I don't know them prior to injury. I don't know their life story. I don't know how they were prior. And so I'm not like grieving the loss of how maybe they were. And I just know them as that's how I know them. And I think that makes it easier for me to do the work I do. But, you know, watching this and seeing how he was before as a person, and then just how that evolved, like, so there's a grief. You're grieving the loss of, and now, you know, he's different now, and I don't really know what that looks like, but it's just, yeah. So that's kind of something different than when I'm working with people. I don't know what they were like before.
So I'm going to ask you a professional opinion, but the certain things, because one of the and this is and I have to tell you guys because I don't know if you've heard it or not, and if you've heard it, you're going to hear it again. But the kicker to this is that you have to know, because to go through this is that at the premiere, so and this is 22 years later, and this is just recently in Royal Oak. Vladdy's there with his daughter Anastasia, who's probably early 30s now, and I asked her. I said, "Hey, your dad's seen the film? How many times he's seen it?" And she says, when he watches it, he goes to his happy place, and and at the end of the premiere, he's sitting singing "We Are the Champions." So the fact that, to me, that's that all the rest of it in the middle, I want everybody to love it like I do and whatever, but I don't really care, because it served its purpose 22 years later, which in your field, where those things, like I'm asking you, like the songs, even though you don't know the people, but if that can bring them back, and the
absolutely.
fact when Igor was saying how those guys would be there, like, you know, we go in and once a week, and I go in, you know, we make sure we go in like once a week or a couple times a week, but like the Russian guys are there every day, and
Yeah.
it's different to be there for them. Is that, to anybody who goes through something like this, that's a huge thing in their
huge.
rehabilitation?
Oh, huge.
Like, Brad's speaking on,
Huge.
from your professional psychologist.
Yes, I'm a psychologist.
Yes, right, exactly. And I'm psycho, so we're good.
No, like, you're absolutely right. Social support, regardless of if you're recovering from head trauma, from a surgery, from mental illness. I mean, social support across the board improves outcomes. So anytime, like, that's the first thing I ask about as a psychologist. Like, what is your social support system, and how can we help build that? So that's amazing that he had that. And I just got chills when you described like how when he would watch it or hear things, like it brought him back. That's beautiful.
It's the thing is he'll
in
see
there.
Don Cherry on there and he'll like get mad because he, like fuck him, like, and it's great.
Yeah.
Or it's like see Stevie on stage and he's like Stevie, or whenever he sees me, it's like
it's beautiful.
like it is.
I'm so glad that he has that. So.
And Josh, like I told Josh, I said at the premiere when we did it at the the Free Press Film Festival at the Fillmore. To have at the end everybody. So imagine watching this in a theater full of fans and the emotion and whatever. And Vladdy at the end, everybody got up, give him a standing ovation, and it was unbelievable.
It's
and
amazing.
it's just
I love it.
And it's the team about it, right? So it goes to show you when you put the human spirit, when you put it, the intentions are pure, and you get with other people with the same goals and intentions. Mm-hmm. These wonderful, magical things can happen, and the timing of it is, perfect. In the fact of the Renaissance, I guess, if you're going to say the rebirth, I tell everybody it's the same thing as it was when we watched that March 26, 97, the Lemieux game, and winning that. It's a proverbial, it's going to be all right. Don't know what it means. Same thing now is the feeling that we get here with the Red Wing team with Stevie coming back. So, because that's what we breed on culture.
Sure.
So, did you have any questions for?
Yeah, I mean, you were with the four-time Stanley Cup champion.
I mean, I pretty much. You're gonna.
The producer with wonderful Perry Vellucci. If you don't know,
I'm
Perry.
overwhelmed with all of
Everybody
this.
loves Perry. Your two friends that you
Yes.
brought. Let's ask the friends.
Yes,
What did
let's
you
ask the
guys
friends.
think?
What
Let's
are your
ask the
reactions? Your reactions to
Yes,
the film.
Tracy. What did you think of the movie?
The movie was awesome. You said before it started that it would take me back, and it absolutely did. Every emotion that I had when I, went through it the first time was exactly what I had watching the movie. It was awesome. You guys did a great job. I don't know how I didn't watch it until now, but thank you for having me.
Because you were waiting, because you knew you
Exactly.
hobnobbed
Waiting
with
for the
executives.
opportunity.
I know, right?
So you had a special story though about that accident that you told us earlier.
Yeah. Are you going to make me cry again? Because I might.
Go for it.
It's a special story.
I'm here.
So
I can
us.
tell you all
Hey,
kinds of things.
Slava said man tears. It's okay. Whenever Papa Bear,
okay to cry.
whenever
No
Papa
judgment.
Bear says man tears, you're gonna allow.
That was beautiful, by the way.
Oh, can I hold on before you start?
Yeah.
Sean Belegian is in for Monday.
Oh, perfect.
Can I announce it right now?
Yes,
What
yeah.
what you announce it?
So we're going to be at the Maple Theater right here in Bloomfield because we really believe you
Maple
need
and Telegraph. You
Maple
have
and
to
Telegraph. It's called the Maple Theater at Maple and Telegraph in Bloomfield. So we have a 7 p.m. show that already sold out. We just added a 7:45 show so people can
On
see
Monday?
it on Monday night. Because when you see it with a couple hundred people, 300 people, it's a different experience. So you guys come buy tickets because Darren is going to be there.
Actually,
Josh,
Sean
myself.
Belegian and the three of us.
Yep.
Right now, we're gonna do a Q&A after and watch it together. Because even if you've seen it, and God bless if you've rented it, you tell me when you're there, so I give you a hug and I don't yell at you for not seeing it. But the fact that you're there, then you get a hug at the end. It's sort of like Perry love.
You heard it here first.
Right, exactly.
Darren is
But
hugging you.
Sean's going to mediate it. Sean
Awesome. Thank
Belegian.
you.
Yeah,
Hugs.
so Shawnee B, thank you, brother.
Thank
Happy
you,
birthday,
Sean.
Sean.
Oh, yeah, and happy birthday, Shawnee. Exactly.
Happy birthday. So tell us the
Okay,
story.
please do.
About
Sorry,
the,
yeah.
we want that story.
Okay. So, shortly after, obviously, we won the cup. Super excited. I was watching with my friend Stacy when he scored that cup clinching goal. It was amazing.
Which, by the way, you were wearing what?
Your jersey.
Wait. 25.
Yes, it was.
And is that the one that I said I scored the goal because you were wearing it?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
Best autograph ever.
There you go. All right.
I went with my same friend, Stacy. We went, actually, I think we thought that somebody was going to show up at a bar in Birmingham with the cup.
Oh, that's
so we were in Birmingham.
You could have
We
happened.
Good
we
odds.
waited for a while. Ended up, we're like, okay, forget it. We'll go get ice cream. So we went to a place on Woodward. And we were leaving and saw a limo wrapped around a tree in the median. And I was like, crap, should we call somebody? Like, people in limos don't wear seatbelts. Like, that could be bad. Just as I was thinking that, there's police coming the other way. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. We'll go home. So I drop my friend off and I go home and I walk in the house and my mom looks at me and she goes, did you hear what happened to the Red Wings? And like every feeling I had just like fell to the floor. I'm like, please tell me that they were not in a white limo going on down Woodward. And she's like, how did you know that? And I just went, fuck. Like what, you know, it didn't matter who it was, like that. I love that team.
It was family. No,
Yeah.
and this is why, and you remember, right? I take you back, and you remember why you loved this team. And what I'm trying to do now is get everybody, whether to either remember, to either get on the journey or whatever, because it's coming back. It's coming back around in the next 5 years. Maybe it's 7 years. Maybe it's 9 years. But the culture is going to be back, and you're going to be proud. And I just know certain things because I believe in certain people, and you know, especially in the organization, because it hasn't been the way that it's supposed to be as the last 5 years or so. But it's not anybody's fault, but it's as important as you see. We're aware, like if you watch us, we know how important the fans are and how much we love, and the relationship that you said, it's like that accident, it's like all of us.
Yeah.
That's why this movie, it's to me, I never felt that as a whole group, like the Red Wing Nation never had closure on this issue. We won the cup, which was the believe and Vladdy out there, and it's awesome. But then at the end of the day, what happens now? And to hear different, that's why it's always important to tell everybody, oh, I just saw him, or like that. And because he's always been the same inside. He just can't get it out. Right. And it's just amazing that this can have this such effect. And the only thing is, you were in the wrong town. We would have been in Royal Oak. We're on our way to Royal Oak after the golf outing.
Thank you.
We wouldn't have been in Birmingham. You were gonna miss it anyways. But and you know what? And you guys deal with this every day. Life happens, good, bad, or indifferent. You can't, when you realize how not in control you are, that you can only control pretty much your attitude and how you're gonna treat people. And that's, that's pretty much it. And this goes to show, but the connection wise and the loss, and we all felt it. I mean, it didn't matter that, I don't care. It didn't matter because it hit us like that, and to deserve that. So hopefully this heals that younger you that drove by that. Yeah. I mean, PTSD is real. Trust me. I know it. I don't, have any big secrets other than my greatest thing is that when there's a monster around, face it. Because I'm much rather going down, swinging, looking at him, and he can take me out than it is have him, because I've had that guy on my back for so long. Now he can't grow because I got an eye on him the whole time. And it's common sense.
Did I tell you I'm a trauma therapist? So that's like my jam. Like you just said, like what exactly trauma therapy is look it straight in the eye. So I'm having a moment here.
Well, good.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, hey, listen. Well, I tell everybody 4 rehabs, $1 million the league put into me. I mean, I did learn something. Just because I don't agree that I believe that everybody has a right to their own program, and mine's got a big ass plant in it. So it's my journey. It doesn't mean it's right or it's wrong, but it works for me. And I'm sick and tired of people saying, well, you have to do this and you have to. No, you have to be self-aware of yourself and look in that mirror. And I don't care how many, I say it all the time. I don't care if you get tired of hearing it. I'm always going to say it. Do not disrespect that person. So if you're doing stuff you shouldn't, just say, hey, I'll deal with you in a bit. I know, but not now. Because that person's going to look there, which is you, and go, whoa, they see me. Oh, okay, I'm in the game. Yeah, okay, well, we'll get to it later. And then you can move on with your life. It's just, and that's from somebody who's gone from being everything to everybody else to learning who Darren McCarty really is. And that's this guy. That's made by all these men. And, I'm just grateful to share it because everybody should know, because it's the same thing, Tracy, because you have a relationship with all of us like I have a relationship with all of them, with you. It's just, I call it the infinity circle. Let's just, because it doesn't come full circle, it comes infinity and it starts a new one. So now you're just making circles all over with different people, right? You know, then sometimes I got to keep making circles with Perry because, you know, that's what it is. Because you're a great co-host, Perry. You're a great co-host.
Oh, thank you for sharing the story, by the way.
How about you, Michelle?
How about Michelle?
What were your reactions?
Hey, it's nice that Mike let you come down here and join the conversation instead of doing, working
Mike,
overtime. Can you please bill him for the chiropractic session? Thank you.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. Personally, Mike Walters, capital.
Go ahead.
Anyways, sorry.
Oh, I love the movie, but my earliest recollection of the Red Wings were as winners. I knew that they always won the Stanley Cup.
Same for me.
But I do know very early, I had just started college, and I had heard about the accident, and my mom actually made a comment that if you continue and become a physical therapist, you can treat people like this. So watching this movie, it's kind of a realization, you know what, that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
It actually happened. And I remember it was horrible, but I was very interested. I would get out my Lucky Charms, and my me time for the day was to sit down and read the paper. I wasn't watching TV, but I'd read the paper and I'd eat my Lucky Charms and see what was going on, see what the rehab was happening. And there's a part, like, is by the comics was called The Freep, and I'd look into that and see what was happening. So that was... It's very cool that was what really pushed me into becoming a PT, and now I'm doing exactly that. But the other part of the movie, other than I love learning the story, because again, seeing what happened before they were always winning the Stanley Cup, because that's what I knew the Red Wings as. Just seeing that, and also seeing, Detroit, the nostalgia, and just all the cool things with that. It was really interesting. I loved it. So
nice, thank you.
You know what? It's so awesome too, because I relate the fact that you can have your infinity circle to the movie, what it means to you, and it doesn't matter where you came into it, because that reminds me of my wife, who my stepdaughter, who's 25 now, she was born at 26 weeks, and my wife had her at 18, but said if she survives, I'm going to become a neonatal intensive care nurse. Sure as shit, she did, and did that for 20 years, and now she's Now she works for a plastic surgeon, which is like up, but she dealt with the tiny humans because of that, which, whether motivation, but that's what people do, for whatever reason, that was your thing. And to be able to see that people like you, I would like you to take from this is that you matter and you're making a difference, whether you see it every day, whether you see the progress, not perfection, whether you see what it is, because the fact that, or people like you, whoever have helped that gentleman 22 years later from something he's not supposed to survive from, and he can enjoy sort of him, what he loved, and in any little piece possible, right? I don't care what it is, because that's the kicker. So thank you, on behalf of all my brethren, for the people, and that's the whole relationship, whatever it is. And that's what I want people to understand, is that we're all connected, especially around here. Or there's a connection, 6 degrees of something, around. And whether you came early or later, whether you came just knowing us as winners or you went through the Dead Wing era, it doesn't matter. It's part of who you are, your story that feeds out moving forward.
And I was going to say something similar. So I was born in 83, so I don't feel like doing the math. But the point is, I didn't know there was the Dead Wings. Like, I didn't know that.
Right.
That wasn't my thing. And we moved to Michigan. I was in 5th grade. I started playing Little Caesars, AAA, girls hockey after I switched from playing with the boys. And the Red Wings were the Red Wings, like, as I knew them, right? So, like, that was like so it was a big deal at that time. And then I remember in around 5th, 6th grade, I sat down and my dad's like, he's like, you can do anything you want when you grow up. What do you want to be? I was like, I want to play for the Red Wings. And this probably broke his heart more than anything, because he raised me as like a very independent woman, like do literally whatever you want to do in life. And I was like, I want to play for the Red Wings. And he's like, so you might not be able to do that. But, like, that broke his heart because he didn't want to disempower me, right? But then he's like, but here's what maybe you could do. as a female, like you can go into the Olympics, like, and so I was like, all right, well, how do I do that? Like, I was crying, like I was very upset. It just broke his heart. But we kind of charted out this thing of like, okay, here's what you got to do. You got to play AAA. You got to maybe go to boarding school. You got to play Division I. You got to this, and I did all of that. And I made it to Olympic development camp on a couple occasions, offense and defense, and then I played D1, and I'd never made it to Olympics, but I just have to say, it's just funny, like you said, like big picture. Being in Detroit, being inspired by the Red Wings and just Little Caesars, like it's just there's too many very ironic.
Part of who you are.
It's
part of your DNA.
Yeah.
And that's the whole part. It's part of your DNA, whether you grow, whether you realize it or not. And it's just something that I think, to me, it's the nurturing, candy on the pillow, tie the bow to the Vladdy, because that's the whole thing for all of us. Is sort of like, it turned out the best it could under the circumstances.
Well, Brittany, what I'd like to know is, so knowing your age now and the time, your era, but what did you think, especially the beginning and the animation and telling the story? I mean.
I love the cartoons, by the way. Like, I just love that. It was beautiful. And there were parts that were very funny, and then obviously parts that were very sad. But
so the story I told you earlier about having to take a conference call after 51 hours in labor, it was regarding the animation.
It's a very important question, I'm sure. And you took the call anyhow.
But it was regarding making that happen.
Got it. No, it was so well done.
She can multitask like nobody's business.
Superwoman over here, seriously.
She was probably spinning record.
Doing something
which,
right
by
now.
the way, Brittany, you came in and said, hey, I know DJ La Femme.
I do. I was like, 10 years ago in a club in Detroit, I was there, whatever that was. Anyhow. But yeah, so I love the animation and stuff. I took notes. Like, I had no idea. And I dated a Russian for 4 years. About 10 years ago. And so I learned a lot about like the Russian culture and all of this. And like he came over in 92-ish and this and that. But like I had no idea the risk that these guys took. Like holy.
Until the wall came down.
Like just the fact that he's like, I'm not getting kidnapped. Like it's okay, right? And then just like all those little details of like, and then the scene where I forget his name, goes in and basically recruits the two guys in like the steam room or whatnot.
Oh yeah.
It's basically like there's no internet, there's no other way of really communicating. They're just like in the bubble and like I'm blown away at that. And like the risk that they took, they're like, I don't know what the government is gonna do. I don't know what will happen to my family, despite the fact you're giving me all this money and this cars and this and that. So it's just, I just love that you did this. Like, thank you. Like I had no idea that things were like that. So.
We didn't either. A lot of us, depending on who you are, know more of the story or less of the story. But when it came out, we're all like, wow, did you know that? No. Did you know that?
A lot of people don't know, like Brandon Shanahan.
No. Well, like, that's hired gun. I mean, that's just come in on his horse with his hat, his Stetson, and his go, hey, cowboy here, you guys need a couple cups? Let me come in here. Oh, win-wins. Yeah,
but he had no idea. We were just with him in Toronto. He's like, "Oh my! I had no idea that all of these things were happening."
The best thing was when I had Dougie Brown on the show, and because he's when you really realize that his relationship, that him and because it was back in Jersey, and him and Slava are godparents to the kids. So and I call him the diplomat because he was like the American, but he was a buffer because you see that there was some tension around the league, but never in our room. Since I was there, 93, when I got there, Scotty got there, and it was never that way. It was always a learning. We realized that it was like learning and trusting each other and stuff like that we're all for it together. Like you see, that's how it was. When you see like Stevie say those things, is because when you have the leadership doing that, and it was, and the one thing was where Sergey said Scotty didn't, you had to figure it out. He wasn't this. Well, Scotty, what he did, and it's different. And Dougie brought it up, and I didn't really realize. I was thinking about it. Is he told you what you couldn't do? Oh. So what I couldn't do, and it was all individual. Like you can do whatever you want. You can't do that. Like for me, that puck's got to get out every time it's around the wall, and you gotta, like whatever this. The puck's got to go in. You can't turn it over at the round, like stuff like that. But other than that, I had free reign to do whatever until he'd say, "Don't do that again," or whatever. Like he'd always say to me, like he'd stand on the bench and yell, "You fight that guy and you won't play anymore," or stuff. Maybe like different things like that. So until he told you couldn't, you could do it once, and that's the whole thing.
That's how you learned.
But everybody different because you were so loud, and then because he had you figuring it out he had it figured out. He knew the answer. It was letting you try to get there. It's like doing homework with your 8-year-old or something like that. Like I think that's second grade. I can still do second grade math. I think, right? Maybe.
And in the movie too, it sounded like things weren't just quite right until you got the 5. Like once you, am I wrong? Or is that
no?
It was like all of a sudden this magic happened. It
was. Here's the thing, right? Because I say the biggest moves in '97. There was a lot, and it wasn't just that. Because the kicker was the 3 moves after the Russians came. That was Shanny, Larry Murphy, and Joey Kosher. Because for as much as what the Russians did offense, Joey did it. Or what Slava did as Papa Bear for the Russians, Joey did for the grind line, for us me, Marty. Like that, you have that side of it where you got support on the offense, and all the talent side, you got that support. So everything gelled, and then you see it all meshes together, and it comes out. And it works, and you win, right? And from playing hockey even that the chemistry, you can't force it.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you get out there and you just, hockey IQ. When somebody's they can have all the talent they want, but when they can't think the game or know where to go or where to be, Brett Hull says it the best. Hey, everybody knows where the goal scoring areas are. Just not everybody knows what time to get there.
There you go.
Right? That the best goal scorers know when to get there.
Yeah, no, but you guys had chemistry, right? It was all the pieces coming together. We were with Scotty and Brandon in Toronto, and he had quite a few questions because there was a lot of hockey journalists there. It was making two-way players, right? Because Sergei wasn't just a forward; he was also
Stevie
on defense.
too. All of our best centermen.
So he said it was just because they had something different to bring to the table that taught the guys different things, right?
Yeah.
That you guys learned from them, they learned things from you.
Absolutely.
So it was really putting 2 completely different styles and meshing them together. And looking at players from a different perspective. And Scotty really said he just allowed you guys so much freedom.
Absolutely.
It seems like he didn't have those boundaries that other people might have, that there was a lot of out-of-the-box thinking. So it was interesting because there was a lot of super detailed hockey questions that I didn't hear at some of the other Q&As just because there were so
Toronto.
many. Yeah, it was in Toronto. It was at so many journalists, and the idea of warming up with soccer that now is
everywhere.
Now it's everywhere, but they brought that in, because Russians played soccer quite a bit, right? So now everybody warms up like that.
If you look back, is that Scotty Bowman was an innovator as far as systems, as far as not just Russian 5, but we had the left wing lock, which would mean the center of the left winger would actually act like a rover, sort of like a third D, and it took teams 2 years to figure out how to break that because back in the when you could hold up, and then when you got guys, Scotty was the best and he'd see this, and you see the genius of it, is that he knew, because in practice he'd mix us all up, and so guys he'd pay attention to see the chemistry, so when he'd get mad, he'd just go, this guy from the 4th line, this guy from the 1st line, this guy from the 2nd, you guys go, and more times than not, there'd be a goal.
Yeah.
We'd score, and it'd be unbelievable, and he'd be back there dropping his ice.
But do you think, Mick, he had to have seen that chemistry you guys developed. And you think that's a reason he gave you a wider spectrum?
I think that, it's sort of like he thinks it ahead. So we're still working on what's there and now, and he's already seen, okay, these guys are smart enough. Because that's the whole thing. If you look at did I ask you this yesterday? I said, if you look around, we didn't have a dumb hockey player.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
We didn't have a dumb hockey, and a dumb hockey player is what I relate to the difference now. There's no we were allowed to be individuals, and in the team and creative, and that's what taught chasing pucks around. But the thing is, there was everybody, even that had the least amount of hockey sense, had above average hockey sense, or Scotty knew. That you're only gonna this is your responsibility, and it would give more responsibility. The great point you brought up, Jenny. Look at all our centermen. They're all Selke winners. Draper, Yzerman, Fedorov. So if you don't think defense wins championships by your centerman being up and back, so I mean, all these things that are just more apparent and why it works out. That's all everybody is you want to know the reason why? That's why.
I want to ask the girls who their favorite Russian was.
Konstantinov. Hands down. Just because
he likes the fighters.
He hit people so hard, like it was great. He just come out of nowhere.
I picked that up off of Tracy.
Yeah.
She's a bot, not just because she's like
and defenseman. I'm all about defensemen.
There you go.
Normally,
I would have to agree. That would probably be mine.
I agree.
Oh, three.
See,
I didn't know.
No,
that.
like,
All right.
oh my God, Sergey was so hot.
I mean, he was.
Don't get me wrong.
But hockey,
yeah, okay.
See, but you're talking. Listen,
talking
but
to a
here's
hockey
the
player.
difference.
You're talking to hockey chicks.
Right, you're talking. See, you're talking. That's the difference.
And
You're
I'm a
talking
defense guy primarily,
to
so.
which is why, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking to hockey
Yeah.
because we're not. Oh, because wait, was the question who's the hottest Russian or who's your favorite Russian? I mean, right? Because that's the difference between and you ask the American girls, or I mean, like 3 non-hockey American girls, and they all say Fedorov.
No, they say, "Ooh, Fedorov!
Yeah,
Oh my
exactly.
God!"
He was
Exactly.
dreamy. Anyhow.
Right, well, but that's the thing, right? But that's
hockey
the
style.
great thing,
Yeah.
hockey style.
Yeah, totally.
I love it. I
a
love that
very aggressive
I love that the
defenseman, so I
hockey
like
girls that
I
play
have-
hockey won. I love that.
No, I love it because it's that level of everything is that whether it explained things, it took you back, whatever. It's the experience, right? Because you had it, and it only what it does, it just reinvigorates. It just boils. It's like turning boiling the water of what you already have inside you. I mean, you have those experiences. You went to Birmingham and for ice cream and drove by the limo. You know what I mean? Why? I'm not here to explain. I just the awareness. But then to all this, so it's like not the whys. It's just sort of like, oh, this is cool.
It's very cool.
I see you. I do this all the time. I see you. That's it. I don't go. Bah! Speaking of that, did anybody see that they just released that there's UFOs out there? Yeah, that's my new thing. There's this new UFO thing.
But I love how the women are chiming in a podcast.
Oh,
You
good.
see
Yeah,
that?
what
do they say?
They're all over
What
it.
do they
The
say?
professor Konstantinov. So everybody who is watching, look at this.
I
We
like
got
it.
Girls,
Yeah,
girls
yeah.
chiming
What
in.
about fuck off? That's my Russian name. That's what Kazi said.
That's my referee line.
Yeah. No, that's
you
Kazi called me. He said I have a Russian. I bug him all the time. What's your Russian name? He wouldn't tell me. Igor told me. He says it's fuck off. But I got one.
Yeah. Okay. So what other notes you have there? I mean,
Oh,
Brittany,
gosh.
look at this.
I know, I'm
mean,
checking
She's
them off.
like the
I'm
most
checking them off.
prepared human being ever.
are you writing a review?
Well, she's way. You know what? There's
You have a
I'm
question?
a student.
Jenny.
at-
There's
at
Brittany,
life.
and then there's Mike. So there's the scale of preparedness.
Where
think
is
Trey-
Mike, by the way?
we
Oh, I don't know. He's probably
saying.
on the massage table.
Tracy's got a question.
I actually just
go.
had a comment because I was super happy that you guys got to interview and have Dave Strader in that movie as well.
That's Josh.
That was,
It
he
was
came
very
on and I was
important.
just like, oh.
Yeah, because
Josh, I mean,
remember, because he's so red weight, and Dave Strader passed away of cancer, and they called him the voice. And what a great guy, dude! Just the salt of the earth, dude. So and Dr. Finley's passed away.
Dr. Finley just
Mr. Illich, obviously. You know, there's some guy.
Murray.
What's that?
Brian Murray.
Brian Murray also. So it's also a way to, remember a lot of these guys and the integral part that they played.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Josh.
I was fortunate enough, the fact that Dave Strader, I flew to Glen Falls to interview him, and it was probably about 6 months before he passed away.
Oh, wow.
And, we talked for like 3 hours, actually. And when he finished, Dave went back in, to the bedroom and laid down, and his wife was like, geez, that is the longest Dave has talked since he stopped calling games. And it was like a really turned out therapeutic thing. And actually, when we were in New York City, his widow and his son Trevor came out to the screening, and so I actually went out afterwards with them, and it was the first time they'd both seen the movie on the big screen, and it really was moving for them, and they would tell me it was it was therapeutic for
Cathartic.
them, and cathartic for them
Because
to go
also
through
too,
that.
because that's who he was. Like that's the closure, for him to, even though he'd moved on and whatever, but Dave Strader back then was the voice.
was the voice,
And why, in speculating or not knowing exactly why, but it was he knew his time was coming up, and he wanted to, the best thing about Dave Strader is he's a true professional, and he wanted to give you the best, to make sure you had everything on his end, right? He emptied the tank, because he's like,
fully empty.
but that's the way Dave Strader as a human being was, and why he was so respected.
And the best thing, I mean, because he was a professional in the media, he understood how to answer my questions in ways that I would like be able to use.
Yeah.
And so that's why, I mean, there's
he's got great
sound bites when
great
we're
sound
able to
bites.
use them, and it really was in the editing process. Like, oh, man, we really need someone to say this. And Strader was one of the first interviews that we would go to the transcript and say, what do we have there? Because we knew he was reliable, and if it was in there, it was going to be a good soundbite. So yeah, no, I was extremely grateful that you know, he gave me the time to do it when he was, you know, in the condition that he was. But yeah, it was you know, we almost didn't do it because getting to Glen Falls, it's, you know, not a quick, easy situation. You know, we had to actually have some friends from New York drive up and shoot it, so we didn't even use our normal camera crew, but it was that important. Like, let's just go get it on camera. So
That's awesome.
That was a huge piece. And
No, all of it, the way they come together, and like I said to them before, it's the fact that this is real. It's not made up. It's not a story. It's real life with real people, and you got them on screen talking their story. Yeah. Relating back. So I mean, this is, and to me also too, look at it historical, because it's the fall of the wall in Berlin, the communism, that's not going to happen again, right? It's in that impact where, you know, where athletes, we shouldn't say that because there's North Korea, but around the world are afraid to, well, it's true, right? I mean, they get killed over there, but it's like,
I mean, if you're playing ping pong, I don't know.
well, I don't know, but I'm just saying, I haven't heard nobody getting drafted out of North Korea yet.
Ping pong teams, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe, but then if they lose, it's bad.
It's
you know?
bad news.
But so that athletes have to worry about the fear of their family, life or death. I mean, that was real back then, and decisions to be made. And you brought up a great point. You know, throwing money at you, you know, all that you've never seen when you know, the best thing you got's that suit, 20-year-old suit that Jimmy's talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, Dave Brewer, he just said, Darren, who's your favorite Russian?
They're all my favorite.
That was I figured the answer was.
No, they're all different. All different. I got really like special relationship with both Slava and Igor, but I would say Igor probably the most, just because for my life, and has continued like for more so still to this day, as somebody who has always father figured and I could always trust, or you know what I mean, like one you always want to make proud. There's a bunch of guys that you don't want to ever let down, right? Slava was one of them too. Now I haven't seen Slava enough, but Slava just as tight when he was, because they just tell me stories all the time. I used to sit there like a little kid and listen to how it was awesome to learn about the Russian, you know, Red Army and how fucked up it was. What? No, like seriously, how fucked up it was. Like, I mean, it's just crazy for a Canadian kid, you know, that to understand that. But the fact that that's where the lesson, the history, geography, all that stuff comes from the locker room. I mean, it's unbelievable, and you can't get that education anywhere.
Igor also gave you the cue for.
Well, you know what I do. I just wanted to point that, you know, you go straight to the hockey, right? I'm saying maybe there's something in there that, because little buddy started that little fiasco, that has sort of made me.
How did that feel?
Infamous.
By the way, I'm just curious. Like, obviously,
it felt
like what was going on?
I didn't even. I couldn't even. It felt like so pure to hit him that I didn't even feel it. Like when you hit somebody so hard, it's like, did I just hit him or not? Well, you saw his face when he got up. He didn't even know where he was. I was happy.
So Brittany.
Yes.
Okay, next year, March 26th.
Okay.
All right, you're going to be hanging out with us.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because
cool.
She mentioned to me during the movie, and I'm calling you out on this.
What? Oh, no, don't do it. Okay.
She's never seen that fight or knows nothing about that game.
Oh,
I can't say I know nothing
So
about the
we
game.
are going to have her. She's got to come wherever we are March 26th next year.
Yeah, but no,
I thought we were friends.
no, that's good, but it doesn't matter. But that's the whole. You got the gist of it all, where you can go back. March 26, 97, by the way, greatest game. Not 'cause I'm
Greatest
biased,
game.
greatest game in hockey
Greatest
history.
game.
You
I
got to
put
go
on
to a
here,
deserted
I'm
aisle.
going back and looking at like basically all of the film I can possibly find from like multiple years of the Red Wings. Like just some of the clips they showed with just how smooth they didn't even look, they didn't even talk, they just passed and they just knew somehow. And it was beautiful, and I need to look at it for sure.
And that game, watch that game-winning goal. The symmetry that they created as they came over, and then the way this guy finished it was awesome.
Fair enough.
I mean,
Open up like a 50-goal junior score.
Including the amazing
I saw
spinning
that.
celebration into
Oh,
the
that's-
boards.
that-
I did see that goal.
4.7,
Just so we're clear.
4.7 by the Russians, by the way. They gave me 4.7 on the pirouette.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah, Steve Eisman
Commented on that after.
I totally did.
So I actually have a question real quick. So I was going to ask you guys what inspired you to do this film.
So I grew up in Port Huron. Everyone in the area at that time was obsessed with the Red Wings, obviously. So it
Closer to the mic.
Closer to the mic. Oh.
Don't swallow it, but put like Josh. See me?
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
you're
we're just
close.
not supposed to touch.
So you can touch it. Don't move. You're good.
So I wanted to be a filmmaker
Okay.
since I was 14, 15 years old. And when my plan was to graduate high school, go to NYU, do a couple years of prereqs and community college. My first semester, I was in a car accident, and I actually fractured my spine. I didn't know it. I played street hockey the whole next summer, just normal life, and I ended up having to have discotomy and fusion and all that. And so that started a process of basically from 19 to 25, I had 3 surgeries. Between the second and third one, they didn't know what was going on. All sorts of tests and et cetera. And because I had to wear the back brace, and I wore hockey jerseys because it was something easy to throw over it. And my grandparents got me a Konstantinov jersey for Christmas one year. And so for me, it was...
Go ahead. You deserved it on that one.
Yes.
And it was a moment where I was like, I'm being a little bitch. Like Vladdy went through so much worse, and he didn't give up on himself, and you could see that through his perseverance, there's a smile on his face. So I said I can do it too. I had third surgery, and I went to film school, and I knew this story I had to tell. Wow. So I started the process while I was living in Austin, Texas. I got everyone to agree to make the Russians to jump on board, and the person who said they would fund the money disappeared. So I was in Texas with a film about the Detroit Red Wings, and that didn't really work. So I moved back home 4 years ago.
Okay.
And within a couple of months, I met Jenny, and I took the project to her studio. I took a teaser, and I said, hey, I have this film that I want to make, and here's a work sample, and here's the pitch. What do you think? And so...
The rest is history.
She came in. Well, no.
You gotta hear what
just
no, the rest ain't history.
Okay.
You gotta get Jenny's perspective,
Yes,
because
let's
that
get
goes
it.
from creation, how it
Yeah,
started,
the idea.
to
passion.
now you gotta get the money.
Yeah.
So God, I've told this story so many times.
I'm
but
sorry.
Let's do it again.
Should be good at it.
do
It's
it.
like my comic routine.
So you have one of those days where you're just not gonna ever take another project. Have you ever had one of those days like I'm so busy, don't call me, don't bother me, I'm not gonna do anything in my life. So that's the day Josh walked into my my office, and he's like, I have the Russian 5, and then I'm looking at him. I was like, great project, weird little boy from Port Huron. Really? Fuck.
That's my favorite part.
Fuck, what am I gonna do now? I'm gonna have to, I was sitting there, I was like, God, you just can't turn things like this down. And I believe everything happens for a reason. Me and Darren often talk about that. And I went home and I was like, God, I have to give it a try. So I told Josh, I'm going to go to one person only. If he gives us the money, this is meant to be, and we have to do this project. So I went to Dan Milstein, a friend of mine who was at the time Pavel Datsyuk's agent, who is now the agent for most Russian players. Kucherov, Vasilevsky, they really cleaned up at the NHL Awards. And Dan and me had a long conversation, and I said, listen, it's a legacy piece. If we don't do this, who is going to tell this story? Who is going to do this? And he came on board, and more or less the rest was history to set out on the most difficult project of our lives for the next 4 years, where there's probably been at least 100 times where we didn't think this was going to happen. So what people don't know is what they see on the screen now.
Sure.
Is how many years, blood, sweat, tears, us calling each other in the middle of the night, going, this could potentially be the day that this project no longer exists. So we've had many obstacles, but none of it matters now because we're here. We've overcome these obstacles, and we're bringing the movie to the masses for the people to enjoy, and we're happy for everybody's support. And we just qualified for an Oscar nomination. So
booyah! Yeah, I got that going too. I got a cup win. I got a cup win last. I got 4 cups. I got a Monster Cup win because technically I drove the pace car. They canceled the race on Sunday. I drove in first. Logano won on Monday, so I would just share it. Now I got a movie with an Oscar.
Well, we're in a long quest, but I think
no, it don't matter.
You are
Wait, we
Lucky
don't need
Charm.
explanation. Yeah, that's right. I'm in charge. The Oscar push. You got to
No,
tell
I
them
said Lucky Charm.
Oh, Lucky Charm. I'm that too. Whatever.
We don't want him in charge.
Or do you?
Yeah, right.
amazing.
But
Exactly.
it goes
Congrats.
to show you the perseverance. I always
It's
say
so
grind
beautiful.
time. No matter how many times you fall down, you got to get back up. And
Mm-hmm.
you guys deal with it all along. And it's just what it is. It's a legacy piece. It's a piece that we all share, whether you realize how much or not. Because whether you came in recently as a Wings fan, you don't know what hockey is. You don't care. This is the history of it, and the piece that it is, because it's history. And all that stuff they're talking about, that's like 95, 96. I got to relive it every time there, but that's not real. That's not real. I tell them all the time, the PTSD that I have, I don't go back. I remember the accident, but I remember 97, but losing 95 and I remember the beating up Lemieux and stuff, sort of, not really.
I was going to ask. If
No,
you remember that.
I don't
just
really.
blacked out?
I think once I do remember sort of, but I remember I watched myself, and I know the mode that I'm in. I'm checked out, and
Beast mode.
Beast
Yeah.
mode.
Beast
You
mode.
want to tell Brittany what you did after the game, because you didn't realize all the other stuff?
Oh no! The best part is Jenny told
Yeah,
a story about Brent
Brandon.
Shanny, because this is how focused I am, and or I was, is because after we get in the dressing room, right, and go into the coach's office to watch the replay, I don't know the goalie stuff. I don't know anything that was going to grab me. I'm so
You
focused.
had no idea anybody
I had
else
no
was
idea
fighting.
that I was like,
yeah.
I'm watching it. I'm going,
You're in
whoa,
tunnel
wait,
vision.
when did you guys do this? Like, I didn't see it. I'm like,
There's a
whoa.
whole battle going on behind you.
I didn't-
You
I had
even
no
know.
idea.
You're in the
Well,
zone.
And now I think about it, no wonder you didn't, because only you and Igor were in the box. They didn't even send anybody else in the box.
Oh, well.
Did they?
I don't know. I
Well,
got
that would-
sent
that
to the
would
box
be
and then
interesting,
sent
wouldn't it?
out.
I mean,
Hey,
Yeah,
which-
Okay.
And we talked about it. Brandon said like the ref was skating right at him, and then as he turned, that's when they got into it. He was like, and then he just turned away. Like
Yeah.
it was crazy. He goes,
Yeah.
"Why were we not all in a box? Like it was insane.
Yeah.
It was like the biggest brawl ever, and only you and Igor ended
I
up
didn't
in
even
a
get
box.
5 minutes. I didn't even get a 5-minute major for that.
Really?
That's what I'm pissed off about,
So
because I always say
interesting.
9 fights, 11 goals, and then somebody goes, "There's only 8 fights." I'm like, "What do you
Didn't
mean?
even count it.
What do you mean? Let me count 'em. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Dang it! I didn't even get a fight for that, but I got an overtime goal, so that's all right.
So
Well, I'm gonna yes, Tracy.
I was just because you were saying that you remember hitting Lemieux, and there was reactions during the movie when I was sitting over there, like waiting for it to come. I saw you on that interview on OTR or whatever that was.
Oh, yeah.
With Lemieux.
Yeah, that was the
And you
first time
guys
we ever
seemed
met.
to be like civil.
Yeah.
I mean, did you still want to punch him? Because
At that time, yeah, but I
Yeah.
was. But also, to my defense, when do you book the first meeting with the arch rival? 14 years, you haven't met him a day after St. Patty's Day, when when I'm still drinking. So I was just ornery hungover as it was, but I was standoffish, and it wasn't until like as a man, like I had to look at him and then we were able to talk and, to learn that there's two different people. There's on ice Claude and then there's off ice Claude, which Chelly had said there were. Everything was so personal, and even though I had the thing, it had to be something that he brought my guard down because of the person he is. So I give him all the respect. We've done autograph shows. He's given money to charity. He's a good person. Now, as a player, no, he's an asshole, and I'd do it again, right? So
I do have a question, but I don't know if
there you go. Wrap it up. Last question here, Brittany.
Well,
make it a good one.
maybe
Make it a really good one.
This is a good one, but I think it's called Ice Guardians. I want to say.
Yep.
So working in head trauma and concussive events and things like that. So watching that movie, it was a while ago, so I'm not really sure. I don't remember when the shift happened, but basically they're talking about like the history of, the NHL and like fighting and that there are these enforcers, and I had no idea, like people were taking boxing classes.
Oh yeah, I boxed for 10 years. Yeah.
As a part of like your job, like
it was the best trade. Boxing is the best training, I think, for anything because of you're doing every different thing, and your conditioning will never get better.
So conditioning, yeah.
That's
like
what. No, but fighting too. No,
fighting.
technique.
Okay.
Dude, I used to work with a guy called Al Irish for 10 years. Proby would come with it, but I trained with him in the summer because I love to learn how to. But I'm fighting bigger guys too, so that's the one thing is to learn how to protect yourself, and I love the conditioning wise of it. But I wasn't in there banging. Like I was sparring, but I'm not in there banging, taking shots to the head and stuff like that. I waited to do that on the ice.
Fair enough. Well, and I thought was interesting in the movie that there was this shift. So and I forget when it was. I don't know if it was after the lockout or whatnot.
It would have been more towards after 2000 lockout, but not like back then in the 90s and stuff. No, and even earlier, like late 80s was really bad.
Yeah.
Into my first few years, like. No, I mean, my year in the minors, I had 45 majors. We bench brawled CDI 5 times. It was fun.
So what I found fascinating about it, and I'm just curious if there's research to support it, but about the shift that actually, because one would think that when fighting was more of a prominent thing, that there'd be more concussive events, but really
absolutely not.
Yeah, like
because
that's
of the disrespect. Because now they're going so fast with the equipment that they have, and they don't respect each other. Mm-hmm. Because the thing is that you got somebody that that you do something to one of my guys, somebody's coming for you. You have to stand up for yourself, or somebody else will have to stand up for you. But we'll keep coming. Mm-hmm. So the thing is that you're gonna get it. So the thing is when you get somebody, you turn around and you deal with it right then. Then it's done with, right? And then you handle it out of respect. The big thing with Lemieux was the lack of respect. To say you would have not known who Chris Draper was, and he's not sorry. Like that's the disrespect. Stuff happens in hockey and in life that you don't mean, but you have to still respect the fellow human being. When you lose the respect, that's what's happened nowadays. Plus, I don't have time to get into it, but you don't learn how to hit properly. You don't learn how to take a check properly. You don't. Yeah. Who the hell? Like, when did it ever? If you went through the middle with your head down, and you got rung, you're an idiot. Now you go through the middle in hockey, football, whatever, and you get lit up. They suspend the guy who hit you clean, like Vladdy on Howard-Chuck would have been suspended. So. It's the respect has to come from the players, but there also has to be, the biggest consequence in the NHL right now. You know who the guys are scared of? Their money person or their wife, because they're getting fined, right? It's taken out of their right. They don't have to worry about bodily or, it's a real thing to have to worry about who you're going to fight the next day.
Yeah, I mean, I just found that interesting.
And by the way, you're playing in the best hockey league in the world. So you not only have to fight, you have to be able to play too.
Well, yeah.
No, wait, but that's the whole thing people forget. Right? You think you're a goon, or you think a guy's on the end of the bench. Even that guy can can play better than anybody else. That's the disrespect, but the job that they do. And most of the tough guys, they have respect for each other, right? There's that respect, and that's why it stayed down because, and every now and then you're going to get a bell
like
run.
Checks
but
and balances kind of. And it just shocked me.
And then I won't hit your top guy. You don't hit my top guy.
But now that there's not that, there's potentially more
lack of
concussive
respect.
events.
Absolutely.
So
lack of respect, hitting from behind because never been taught properly. Because the guy who gets hit puts himself in a position. You never turn your back. You learn. What do you learn? If you're going to take a hit, get against the boards because the guy wants to run you. He's going to hurt himself more.
Right.
Never be off the boards. There's just certain things you learn as a kid that is lost in all this as kids are trained and better developed than we ever were. But we learn the little things. How to
defend yourself. Yeah.
And properly. How to throw a hit properly. How to take a hit properly. How to not skate through the middle with your head down. How to, And some do and some don't. Perry, Eric Lindros, biggest guy, one of the best thing, but his skating with his head down, never learning to pick it up, cost him his career from concussions. Yep. Right? I don't care how big you are, and he's 6'6", 250.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter.
Nope, I'm sure it doesn't. Well, thank you. I knew that wasn't a quick
question. That's awesome. That's a great way to end it. And thank you again for being here. All you wonderful ladies, I hope you enjoyed it. Please, now you're responsible. Now, this is what we do. You know how they send you get a stupid link and it says, if you don't send this to 10 of your friends, and you're going to have to. Well, I'm saying that just tell your friends. Tell your friends. Tell people you don't like. Tell people you don't know. Just tell everybody, hey, you seen the Russian Five? And they need to see it. So you've seen it. Now it's like people told me with me getting healthier, say with cannabis. Now that I know the truth, it's my responsibility what I do with it. Now that you know the truth about the Russian Five film, it's your responsibility what you do with it. On that note, this has been a special Thursday. Thank you, Jenny, Josh, ladies, Tracy, Michelle, Britt.
Yep. Thank you.
Perry, Bam Bam, Cindy.
Mike,
Cindy in the corner, making notes for our project, Poisoned Ice, because she released that. I can say that stuff because she said it last time we were here. Doing all that. Michael, thank you, or Eric, thank you for the house. Mike, make sure you clean the toilets before you go home.
And the food, Crank.
Oh,
thank you.
Hey,
Cracker D-Mac here. Just wanted to say, hell of a job on the food, bro. Especially those chicken wings.
But that's it. But always remember, no matter what night we do it, no matter how we do it here on Grind Time with Darren McCarty, no matter how many times you fall down, get your ass back up. Grind Time. We're out.